Budman. Here. There we go.
We have a crowd tonight. I don't. I think we'll do our minutes in our treasury report real quick first, and then you guys, then we'll have you guys introduce yourselves and take off from there. This only takes a couple seconds. Everybody look at or anything that we have to do for minutes. Change anything or. We have two sets. Or just one. Or one.
This one.
This is one.
Yeah, because we haven't met since October.
Right. There isn't much there anyway.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Double second. All
Got it.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Treasury report real quick.
So treasurer's report, starting in October, actually starting September because we haven't met. September, our deposit of $53,841.79 came into the account. We had several base forwards and the MAP ad, and we had an ending balance of $107,526.72. We had interest in October of 92 cents. Interest in November of 87, and 3 checks cleared with an ending balance of $103,301.71. And we have an 88-cent interest. This in December, ending balance 103,302.59.
Oh, we're just making money.
Yep.
Hand over fist. 80 to 90 cents a month.
Yes, we are.
Motion up to the treasurer. Second. All in favor? Now opposed. Okay. Let's get a public comment, or let's at least find out who's out there, and just introduce yourself real quick. Let us know who you are, and then we'll carry on from there.
I'm Pete Isinger.
Diane Isinger. Lori Frank.
Doug Bueller.
Maureen Carlton.
Okay. I would assume that you're here for one of the things that's on our list, which is to hear some input about our, well, we're going to talk about the Parks and Rec plan. It expires
Correct.
in February, so it has to be updated. And for any grants or anything that you want to try to get, you have to have an updated plan. So that's one of the things that they've been working on already. In a few meetings to update the plan. So in one of those items, which we had talked about previous in the last, I don't know, 5 years probably, or more maybe, about a boat launch type thing somewhere. It's not in our district, but somewhere where it could be accessed by Langsburg people. And now they have had a couple of meetings, is my understanding, and they have come up with a couple of plans. CE2 has put together a couple of plans. If you're familiar with them or not. Has everybody seen them? And I'm assuming that you guys have already seen them and know what they are. And then they're gonna go back to city council, these plans, and then they're gonna vote on one of them to try to,
Well, it's actually just a starting point.
just a starting point.
To start, like, okay, talking about where people would want to see it, or, you know, things that, you know, want to go out there. Some of the things that came up, you know, was a gate,
cameras, some of those things we had already talked about in the, actual like verbiage, but I mean, probably didn't show up in the drawing, but they were great suggestions that we got from the people that came to the planning commission. Concerns over, what the site used to be used for, which we had done some testing with, we contacted Eagle, they came out. That was our first step, so. But none of these are in stone and they are just a talking point.
Yeah, just to
see
get
what
it
people wanna
started, I
do.
guess.
In order to apply for a grant, kind of got to know where we're gonna put it, because it's gonna make a difference on, how much path you need to get down to the river. We want to go with the, from the feedback we've gotten, since I first had a conversation with Maureen, was that, we wanted to kind of keep it as natural as possible. And not like, we don't want to put in a bunch of pavement, we don't want to put in a bunch of structures or anything like that. Obviously, to make it ADA accessible, there's gonna have to be something to get down to the river. But, some people would like to make sure that like people could turn around down there with kayaks and a trailer at the edge there, but I mean, so
So
far,
in this, is this, in these, both these drawings, are they suggesting that be paved or not paved?
no, no,
It's just a gravel.
just like
pit,
an aggregate.
Aggregate or
on the
something
ground,
like
yeah,
that.
No
So
pavement.
no pavement
The
anywhere.
only place there would be hard surface would be to get like a wheelchair or
From there to,
to the river.
and then there would be a boat launch of some sort that you could
Right.
run a wheelchair up there to get
Right, and those are still like, there's like
in the
lots of
planning
different
station.
kinds, that's in the planning stages. But we could look at other ones and things like that.
I just had a quick question. Did you started out at the beginning saying that you were looking at options? So what were the other locations that you considered other than the one on Heiser?
Oh, that is the location, the site that has been discussed for 10 or 15 years, that, since at least 2010.
I think on this board right here, there's two. is what
Yeah,
we're talking
they-
about.
So the- it's
just
just that
different
where we
configurations.
could, I mean, these two options are just suggestions of where to enter the property from Lanier
Okay.
Road.
We have seen those.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just got confused because I got.
Sorry. Yeah, so no, there was, I mean, that was brought up, I want to say 10 years ago.
And it was
Or longer.
been talked about since I was on the BA,
And Gary
but it was
here.
never even really went anywhere as
It's
far
been in
as
this plan for 10 years,
Yeah.
in the Parks and Rec plan.
quite a while. And it was just talk. No one ever really put anything into motion to try to make it go further than that. Go ahead.
So, my concern is the toxicology report from the DNR. It does show hazardous heavy metals in the soil. Are you going to get someone that authorizes that this is safe? for
Oh,
the public- for
absolutely.
the
The,
public And also for the neighbors, our wells. What I heard was that you could not dig the soil. You could
We've not been
disturb
told that at all, that we can't dig there. The Eagle has not told us that. My conversations with Eagle, they've not said that it's unsafe to develop for the use that we want to use it for.
I called there and asked that specific question and was told, no, you can't dig in it. You cannot dig in that soil because. the
All I
river-
know is that, the guys that came out that did all of this, they gave us that report, and I know C2AE is trying to get a hold of them to kind of get a synopsis that would be in language that all of us can understand and not what's in that. I don't know about you, but I can't interpret that report. So when, we talked to the engineers and to Eagle, the people, they didn't have any like big red flags of concern. Obviously, if they tell us that we can't do anything there, then that would be the end of it. I
Yeah,
mean,
'cause I remember-
unless,
I don't know what they would, I mean,
unless somebody decides they want to clean up the site,
Right.
then, I mean, I don't know why, if Eagle is just gonna have to let us know mean, that's why we started with them.
Yes.
No,
I'm
I mean,
confused because
Why
the
do
plan-
anything else without starting with Eagle? I mean, that seemed to make the most sense.
At the planning meeting, one of the members of the planning meeting said that there was a discussion about pulling all the soil out because you can't dig in it and replacing it with good soil.
That was somebody just talking at the planning
Or,
committee that,
yeah, or covering it.
yeah.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah,
there's
all
no
of it,
reason
yeah.
to, unless you're building structures, which you're not. And if you're not disrupting the soil that's there now, unless you go down into the soil, which if they're just putting a base in to put a drive in, I wouldn't see where they would be adding, if anything, to make.
There was a
this-
suggestion to plant trees, and I think there was some concern over digging to plant the trees.
Okay, I
And
guess.
I mean, I'm just saying,
Right.
I don't know whether we can plant trees or we can't trees. I mean, and none of those things are gonna happen until the DEQ tells
Says
us.
that you can or can't.
Correct. I
Right,
mean,
period.
the city is not going to, create a hazard that isn't already there. I mean, if there's a hazard there, then it's been there for, I don't know how long, but we're not gonna disturb that and make it worse. We would have to do whatever due diligence they tell us in a report.
So what are the next, how do you envision this going? You know, what the next steps for this?
Right now, we are just still like, we're just seeking feedback on what,
Negative or positive.
yeah.
And they're just presenting it to us for us to see it. And we, as this board, can't apply any money to it from the DDA because it's out of our district.
Okay.
So for us, there's really nothing that we can do other than if we had people on the board that were against or didn't think that it should happen, could voice their opinion, no different than the public. Or vice versa, if there was people on the board that said, maybe as the DDA, we should get together and say, we're in support of it, and that's the end of that. So it would just go to city council saying, or be in our minutes saying that we were in favor of it happening. If totally, it's all gonna be done legally anyway,
Right.
and they have to go through the steps, like Paul is saying, to do whatever it is that they want to try to do there in the first place. But I personally don't see anything where the DDA would be against it, because if it could bring more people to the community, spend a little more money in the community, then that's kind of what we're here for, to help the community.
So since it is outside of the city, and since it is connected to our land,
Mhm.
who is gonna police it? Who's gonna maintain it? Who do we call if there's problems? Do we call the city of Langsberg, or do we call the sheriff?
I would think, when we get to that point, that, we would have, something in place that talks about that, but, 911 from there would dispatch the Shiawassee County Sheriff if there's like some sort of problem. But as far as like regular policing it and regular maintenance, I would assume that our DPW guys will be out there doing what they're supposed to do. And then.
Which
um,
it's
and-
gonna
and
be,
our-
should be minimal.
Our police officer now goes to things in the county to help other people and to service at the high school. And, if there's needs, there's a fire or there's a domestic situation, he's going to a lot of things that are outside of the city limits. He's a deputized, person for the county. So.
It would be no different than if something was to happen there right now. I don't think, right? Nothing should change that much as far as if there was a problem there now and you were to call to get help for whatever the problem is,
The sheriff.
it's gonna go, like she says, it's gonna be dispatched to the sheriff because it's a 911 call. It doesn't mean that if it was a large problem that this police officer here in town might zip out there
Well, the
also.
sheriff would come to our property because it's not city of Langsberg land. That 1.6 acres is city of Langsberg land. So I would imagine it's maintained and policed by the city of Lansing.
Mm,
I don't know.
I-
I think
I
it's
guess
out of the
that's a-
scope of.
Yeah, that's a
of
good
us.
question.
We wouldn't
Well,
know.
it's
Well, we-
a concern. 'cause
Right.
it is
Yeah.
connected to
And,
our
and
property.
we're
Right.
writing those concerns down and, you know, we're
And then
gonna,
what? But where do they go? Where do our concerns go?
well, I've been tracking them because we tape our meetings and I wrote down the concerns and I took everything to the engineer and then, I mean, we'll talk to Dan and Dave about it and make a plan for how it's gonna be maintained or taken care of if this project happens.
It has to all go through the city council and be approved to move forward anyway.
sorry.
Is that February 7th meeting, the public? meeting
Yes.
For that?
Yes,
No,
yep. But we're doing all this to get to that point, like, so that, like, we're gonna try to have, you know, oh, that's for the park and rec plan.
Oh, that's not for specifically this.
So I have a question regarding finance here. So are you planning that this is all gonna be financed by a grant in order to put this in, or using city funds to actually make this happen?
A grant.
So it would have to be 100% grant, or?
No, it's not 100%. I think it's 75, 25 or 50-50, depending on which way it goes.
And that would be a question, again, it's not for us really, it would be for the city council to see if they were,
Well, I know Paula, I think. about
Right.
it, so-
Yeah.
Right, so that's the only reason why I was asking.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just telling you that I know what the grant is that I've been tasked with trying to apply for, and it is, I think the one that we're looking at through the DNR is a 50-50 grant. So, I mean, if these numbers come back and, you know, it's a $3 million project, well, it might not happen anyway. because- You know what I mean? I mean, this is why, I mean, we actually, you know, my staff went through, we tried to make sure that all of those neighbors were invited up there. We sent something, we looked at their addresses and specifically sent something in an attempt to open that line of communication and start talking. We had 5 meetings planned in January and we really wanted to hear from you guys. And I thought we had some good feedback from the last meeting with the cameras and the gates and the signage and, you know, I mean, we took all that stuff into, you know, we want to try to make sure we get those things in the plan. And if this is built, we're 2 to 3 years out. We are totally in the beginning of this process. And
and
like I
again, it
said,
could depend on
right,
the
if-
amount of money.
I mean, if the sticker price comes back and there's no funding for it, then it won't happen anyways. I mean, the city's not gonna fund this without, some mechanism to make that happen. So, and we have had some really good feedback from our survey that people would like to see it, and I know that a lot more people are looking at river access and doing outside things, and, I mean, I think it's a good thing for the community, and I'm sorry that it's next to your properties. It's like, I mean, it is, you know, it is, but it is, I don't think it's anybody's intent, and I'm speaking for myself here as someone who's like trying to help this. This isn't Paula Willoughby's project. I didn't think this up. It's been in the plans for, like I said, since 2010. And, you know, actually it's been put off a really long time, and finally, you know, we had a fit assessment and everybody like, well, you guys had a water access, you know, and it really bubbled to the surface some more there. And we've had a lot of conversations about it, and just the opportunity has come up. There's a lot of grants for river access right now. I've talked to the people at the Looking Glass, the Friends of the Looking Glass from DeWitt, and, you know, they would just be excited to have this happen, because we would be the furthest this end of the Looking Glass at public access, because there's really no access for people to get on it. And now that the county,
But once you're
Yeah.
on it, the access isn't always that
Well-
great.
well, and then now
Yeah,
that
I'm
the
gonna
county has
comment on
been
that.
cleaning it, you know, I've heard it's, but I have, you know, I mean, I'm not a kayaker. So again, this isn't to
That was
benefit,
my next question.
this isn't to benefit Paula Willoughby. So this is like, this is a city project that has been in the works, and we're just simply trying to see if it's something that's feasible or not.
Right, we just want to get our voice early in the process.
Absolutely,
And
that's
we
why,
came to the planning meeting,
Yep.
Yep.
but we weren't sure if all of those comments were gonna be passed on.
Absolutely. I watched the
Hours.
meeting
So
over
you've
and
already
over.
heard my question about, are you kayakers or anybody kayakers or canoers? Because.
Cassie Brown is, she works in the office. She's
Yeah,
a
that,
canoer,
that
or
stretch,
kayaker.
I kayaked from 52 all the way to DeWitt. So that stretch is nice because it cleaned it out, which it hasn't been cleaned in over 50 years based on all my neighbors. So my real question is, that's a pretty little branch there. It's not taking much. I mean, in the fall, I paddled it and already saw, oh, there's a little clog on that side. You know, it's our Mother Nature's already starting to close that up. So my concern is like, okay, we get all this grant money, we make this thing. Nobody can get access that river after
Well,
5 years anyway. You
well,
know?
hopefully if this happens, that, working with the, the Looking Glass River Friends and the DNR and the county that, that there would be more people involved that would want to help keep that clean.
I was just gonna
They
say
said they
that
have a decent band of volunteers.
if you have no one that gets out there, I mean, you're one or two, and they're trying to get down, or they now can get down it. And then you have an access where 10 or 15 or 20 or 25, in numbers helps almost always if those people want to use it and they see it deteriorating or closing down and they can't use it anymore, they're gonna go, hey, we need to do something,
Yeah,
to help this stay afloat because we want it to work.
Right.
But to do nothing ever is what's happened for 10 years or more.
Longer,
Right.
way
And,
longer.
and it may still be another 10 years, who knows, but to at least get it off dead center or off the bubble and get people talking about it, good or bad, doesn't matter. I mean, you gotta have all sources. And everybody has their right to their opinion and it should be voiced. And then if it does happen and it becomes a great thing, then you may see it where lots of people use it and they say, well, we need to do something with the river to keep it cleaner. So now what do we got to do to make that happen? Because it took 50 years to get cleaned out as much as it has right now.
Right.
I mean, it could
That was a drain project, my understanding from the county.
Yes.
It
I'm like,
could
if that's
actually
what it
have a
takes,
really-
How long does it take for them to want to do that again? Yeah.
Did you see that machine that they had out there?
It was awesome.
Yeah.
I talked to the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was impressive.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
I happened to see it work. And I haven't been on the river since I was a kid. As kids, it was 150 years ago. It used to be, we'd get on it and go forever. And it would be a riot. I mean, but like I said, I haven't been out a long time. And the last time I was on it, it was like, we couldn't even get down
Right.
because of the amount of trees and stuff.
It may be a positive side effect that we didn't think about, that the river might stay cleaned up better and that people will be volunteers to keep the logs out. I mean,
Hey, don't know that I do.
I don't.
Yeah.
So,
So again, I think one of the biggest concerns is just to make sure that it's well maintained and that there's security and that there's follow through, because we don't want people partying out there and no one controlling it and things like that. Otherwise, I mean, having river access for people is a good thing. It's just.
Right.
see, I don't think we want any of that either.
Well,
So-
Yeah.
Because I know Mark was probably from the era when the high school was up here and people went and partied under the bridge.
Yeah,
They didn't need
So
much.
I don't remember that.
You're a lot younger.
So what's gonna prevent it from happening again is really what.
But I think they did the same thing. I remember going to several of the meetings when the rails to trails went in.
Right, yep.
And I remember some of the comments, I listened, I didn't have a connecting property to it, but I listened to a lot of them. And some of them were very good and some of them I went like, I didn't understand some of them. So one that stuck out in my head was, let's just say this similar thing to this piece of property that's right here, right now that we're talking about. And people drive by and either throw their trash or know it's a good dumping spot because maybe the city owns it or no one owns it. So we drive by there, we scope it out and we go back and we dump all of our shit there because it's a perfect place to get rid of crap. And nobody really complains because it's not owned by those neighbors who are there looking at it. if the rails to trails goes through there and there are people seeing it, would the trash get dumped more there or less there? I mean, that's a question. Would it be more or would it be less? If people can see it easier and it is cleaned up, then usually it becomes less of a problem. Same with the one gentleman said, well, there's gonna be bikers going down the rails to trails and they'll be smoking pot, they'll be smoking cigarettes. They're gonna throw a cigarette butt onto my field and poof, and I was thinking, well, the road literally goes down the whole length of your property. Can't a couple thousand cars a day go by there and a cigarette I mean, I understand the concern, but is that really, no one wants it to be bad,
Right.
but if you never do anything, then nothing ever is good either. Right? I mean,
I think our concern is, we've taken care of the property. We had a lease to begin with, and then the lease ended.
Uh-huh.
Nobody from the city ever came and took care of it, so he continued to mow it.
uh-huh.
He continued to take care of it. A sweet little launch there that's kept up nice isn't gonna hurt our property value. It might even help if it was something nice.
Right.
And you couldn't see the outhouse from my kitchen window. If you couldn't see that, it might be effective. But if it's built and then it's not maintained, again, nobody from the city has ever mowed that in the last 10 years that we haven't leased it. So if it's not maintained at all, then we have this junky thing attached to our property.
But they never really had a reason to mow it either.
The grass is growing, of course they had to mow it, it had to be mowed. He did it, we waited, nobody came, so he just takes care of it.
Okay. So maybe now it would get mowed if there was
Well, I
something
think it
there
has
that
to.
would be taken care of.
Well, I don't think it has to. I think you need to leave a lot of it natural. Because I'm gonna bring up the milkweed again. There's a lot of milkweed over there. There's a lot of natural things happening over there. The sumac, the milkweed. Like to see all that kind of stay there. But I would like to see a landscape. So, we don't see cars, truck, trailers, and maybe a berm, and some trees or something. I don't.
Something, so it's just a buffer.
I mean,
That's a great, a lot of times, anytime anything happens in the city, and you can see that with anything that's built, just like here, there's a fence got put up, or there were some trees that were planted to help out the people who are in that directly affects them. And it's their voice that said, listen, if you could at least think about this, we would like to have a tree line there. We would like to maybe have a fence there. What do you guys think? We're voicing our opinion. And then it was planned out and said, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's put a fence there so that it doesn't bug those people,
That's
when it's being
exactly the
used.
kind of dialogue we were hoping.
Which is the reason for the meetings. And it's just like we said, it's just begun, and you gotta take all the good and all the bad and put them together, listen to them, write them down, weigh them out, and then move forward.
and this doesn't have to be the end of the meeting, just because, say we go ahead and approve the park and rec plan and that gets done. Then if we have a park and rec plan, then we can apply for a grant. But the grant application's not till April. So then we would apply, but we're not necessarily guaranteed to get awarded that grant the first year. And even if we do, right up until we build it, we can keep having these conversations. I mean, that's what I would like to see, so that.
At least there is conversations about it, meaning the more it's getting talked about, the better chance of it kind of happening. Because it
we
hasn't
don't-
been talked about for 10 years, only in sparse pieces. It's never happened. So there's never still been a place to go take your kayak or canoe and launch it anywhere here other than Babcock's Landing.
Correct,
which is
that's the
down.
next place.
Stream down there
You can actually legally launch it at a bridge,
at the bridge.
at any bridge.
Really?
You can Put in it.
Access, right?
Right. Yeah, it's
Easement
good.
or
Yeah,
But it's just not cleaned out right now to
Right.
do that.
well, Frank wants through there. I
Yeah.
charge, but nobody ever pays me.
Yeah.
But I mean,
was confused.
coming from me, just me, not the city council, not the DDA, but I mean, I think that, my intent was that we want to make this something that is an improvement, not a detriment. And if there's already contamination on that property, I mean, it would not be our intent to spread that, I mean, that just as a person, that just doesn't make any sense that that would be our goal. So, I mean,
Putting a canoe in here or kayak in here or whatever would be considerably better than doing it down on Woodbury Road where they're doing 70 miles an hour and literally you're tossing it off the bridge and trying to get around to get down in there to get it. I mean, it definitely is better here. Not that it would happen, but it still would be better. I mean, I'd rather have my grandkids going off and getting on here than getting off at Woodbury Road.
and you bringing up the, the native plants and stuff that are out there, I mean, that's great. That's good to know.
And it's better to probably leave it.
Right, and
Natural.
absolutely, we know that there's something out there, that kind of stuff, then, we talk to the engineers about it and Eagle. I mean, I'm sure maybe they even have a program to help us label them and make a little walking thing for kids out there to see what is there,
Well, it's little now. Remember, it's just an acre and a half. It's not,
Yeah,
not gonna have a lot of water.
well, when you're walking down to the river bank or whatever, maybe there is a place to like label, what
Mhm.
these things are.
Sure.
So
And
maybe
there
you
isn't
can,
even that.
You can walk around there, and take your local root stuff. We'll call it Kumbaya Park.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, I did have a question, just for, maybe I'm the only one confused by this, but, they had said that, well, we're gonna pick a plan and we're gonna kind of say we're gonna move forward, but it doesn't have to stay that plan, like if you get the grant, how much can that plan change?
Well, so
At that
well, we
point.
have these two options and they're bigger
Yeah.
ones up there, but I know
Yeah.
you guys have seen these, but
Yeah, yeah.
so, I mean, those were kind of like, I mean, originally when they showed these to us, I was like, well, I'd like the one that stays farther away from the neighbors as possible. I mean, so I am, trying to look out for you guys when we see these plans, but then the other one, had that nice turnaround in it and they didn't know if they could get the turnaround over here, but even if we said, hey, we kind of like a combination of those two things together, what we're trying to do is not pay them to design them both. You know what I mean? So we're paying the engineers to make it like an actual design that will help us get the grant, because the grant will tell us how that will feed the dollar amount.
Right.
So,
Once the
when-
grant's in place,
Then
that's
it.
the second.
but the grant will be about
scope.
scope. So the scope of the project is, to put in a trail.
Oh,
The grant's not gonna make us go, okay, this is
Specific.
the dot you set. So the
Okay.
grant will be about the scope that we want to put in, a trail, and then it's gonna be, an aggregate, not asphalt. So if we tried to asphalt the path, then we might have some argument from the grant people, right? And our money would go up, but we would give them a scope, and it's not like, that you have to paint it pink. It's that deep of a scope. It's just sort of an overall scope. We give them that scope, and then we would have a price, and then, so we would agree on that we're gonna build this thing and it's gonna cost X number of dollars, and they're gonna fund half of it. And so that would be what the grant does. So, but if we change that and go, oh, no, we're gonna build a skyscraper out here, then no, it's not within the scope. Does that make more sense? So what we were trying to do was just narrow it down to which kind of these, what looks better to you? What do you want to be further over that way? And if we are, can we, I think we were trying to, when the engineers explained it to me, was that curve comes by the bridge. So we don't really want people coming in and out right there. It seemed a little dangerous, so they were trying to go that way, but my concern was your property, right? And so, I mean, they have porta potties that you might not even know they were there. They're not the big ugly green ones. You know what I mean? I don't know if you've ever been anywhere where they have ones, they kind of look like a little cabin in the woods or something. I mean, they do have them, but I feel like,
I'm envisioning this big giant. beams
Right.
that-
right, and I think but that we could decide right up to when we put it in. But we have to keep this open dialogue and talk about those things if this gets that far. So right now, we're kind of just in the overview and trying to, make sure that, there's not something on here that is just like egregiously wrong. Like if we had built it too close to the bridge, and then there were concerns that it would be too close to the bridge. Do you see what I'm saying? So those are kind of the things we're looking for. And then, to save those native species and to, watch the porta potty and, if we end up making it ADA access because the grant requires it, then there's gonna have to be, some substantial cement work and that kind of thing down by the river. And then if the Eagle tells us we can't do that, then we can't do it.
So, just so we are clear, how do we stay informed without having to come to every single meeting?
I can, get everybody's, there's a sign up sheet over there. If you guys want me to have your email or tell me how you want to be contacted, maybe write it down on there for me. I can email you, I can, whenever there's a meeting, we do have meetings on our website, or just give me a
So
call.
if it's not, so let's just say, just so I understand, if it's not on the current agenda, then it's not gonna be talked about, and we wouldn't need to necessarily come to that meeting, I'm just saying. I
Well,
don't
it could
a
come up
meeting
under
every week.
other or something, but if we're trying to fund something or trying to apply for the grant, it's
It's
gonna
gonna
be on the
meeting.
agenda.
And if you're gonna spend money, you're gonna have to vote on it, then it's gonna be on the meeting.
And if I know you guys want to be notified if it's gonna be on the agenda, then I can do that. I can email you the agenda. Or you guys can just give me a call.
Council meeting, right?
Right. We had the park and rec just before this one. I was kind of surprised you guys weren't here. Then I come out, I'm like, they're
They
here.
Probably know about it.
Yeah,
It was on that one original list we
Yeah,
sent, so.
I just wanted to say about that, no. It wasn't clear that we're gonna be talking about that. I'm not a city resident, so I'm like, this gets.
Well, that's what the gist I got from
It
that
was just,
was,
to me, it looked like a general park and rec, city
Yeah.
issue that the same letter you send out to everybody.
I kept
So I
reading
thought,
it,
was
and
it on a
then-
it was
state?
supposed to be a little more specific
Yeah,
than
yeah.
that, but
and then when I saw,
So that,
Weird.
we're not perfect.
no, I know, but I'm saying that's why maybe we missed that meeting.
Yeah, yeah. So, but anyways, just, you can give me a call, you can email me, you can stop in, whatever you want to do. So,
well, yeah, so you can let us know.
yep,
You know who we are.
I do.
and your input at a DDA meeting that doesn't really have concern is still okay too. I mean, you're more than welcome.
When was
Liven
the
up our
Parks and
meeting.
Rec meeting?
What's that?
When was the Parks and Rec meeting that you thought we'd be at?
It was at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock,
Okay.
just before this.
That's under DPW.
Which they have, they're overseeing this, right?
Parks and Rec.
Yeah, they're the ones that kind of have started it.
So that probably will be the committee that talks about it more as we get more detailed and refined, and so we can just make sure that
Which one was that?
the Park and Rec
Parks and
committee.
Rec one, we'll pay attention now.
Yeah.
To that, okay.
Well, so, but isn't it gonna be voted on like at the next city council meeting? on
The only
7th?
thing we're voting on at the next city council meeting is updating the 5-year Park and Rec plan, which would include this project, but it already has this project in it.
Right, it's been in there for 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's
So if
just
that-
saying,
That
we
really
want,
doesn't change.
right, we want it kept
But
in there.
we were specifically within updating the Park and Rec, wanting to get real good feedback on this project.
So do we need to go to the city council meeting and say all of this again to?
You
those
do, I
people?
have got your comments, and if you want to come and speak, surely. But otherwise, I will, I kind of feel like I already, have everything that you guys said from the planning commission. And I'm gonna forward all that. I forwarded it to the engineers, and I'll take that on to the city council as we move forward. But we are not in a position to move forward with this project yet, but we want to approve the Park and Rec plan so that we can apply for grants next year. And this would be one of them.
So,
Right now, it's the
you
only
mean
one.
this, you said it was April. for
I'm
this.
sorry, we're in 2022 now, so
So if I understand correctly, then you'll approve the Parks and Rec plan and you want to apply for a grant in April, and it takes a while to get together everything to do a grant, because I've done grants before that. So you're probably going to be getting an estimate. You're gonna decide to move forward with at least getting an estimate at the next meeting.
the city council told C2AE, our engineers, to go ahead and keep working on getting us a
Okay.
price ready.
Yeah.
And we based it off the one that everyone seemed to like the best, which was the bigger loop, I
No,
think.
Further away.
Further away.
from the drive.
This
Yeah,
one?
Closer to the bridge.
Closer to
Farther
the
away.
bridge.
I guess it's
Farther
closer to the
away.
bridge, right?
I would say a little, yeah.
Yeah, but it seems to be
It's
closer to the
closer, but the
river.
drive is the same.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? I had.
Yeah, it's a little bit closer.
Just, yeah.
So that was the one that so far has the best feedback on, so.
So, okay,
But-
so you're gonna get a price so that you can put together a grant and you're going to apply for the grant, assuming they say to keep moving
Correct.
forward. And then it'll be a wait and see to see if you even get.
Right, but in that
Yeah.
meantime, we can still keep meeting and talking about how to detail it and like I said, we don't really want to put electricity out there, so we're gonna do cameras, we're gonna figure that out without,
Maybe so.
but we talked about if there has to be some lighting, I don't know if it'll be required that we have
Right,
lighting.
because you're not gonna technically kayak in the dark.
Correct, the park closed at dusk,
Right, exactly.
Right. Then
so,
you-
I mean, I feel like those are all the things that we can continue to work on.
Right, okay.
Does that
No, I
help?
just
Makes sense.
wanted to make sure I understood the
Yeah.
process.
Process.
So right now, we're kind of in the giant overview process, and then we can start, even after we apply for the grant, we can still refine, and if some things end up costing more, then they go in the budget and we figure it out.
Well, I mean, if you get an estimate back,
Right.
and the city doesn't want to pay half, I mean, it's
Then
not gonna
that's-
go anywhere.
Correct.
Probably not, if it's a
So you'll
large
have that
number.
estimate at the next city council. meeting.
No.
I don't think that'll be, I know they're working on it, but I don't know that it's ready. But they have already, so there should be nothing for them. It is on the city council's agenda because we still want to talk about it, but there's really nothing for them to decide on, unless they decided we're gonna kibosh the whole thing. Because they've already asked me to, have C2AE working on this and work on a grant. So,
That answer? No. There's plenty more meetings you can attend, I'll guarantee you that.
3 more years.
Yeah,
I
and you can keep coming to all of them.
All right.
We just have to hope that, you don't outlast us.
we're sorry that communication didn't come across right for the.
No, we just pitched it because we're like, why did they send us this? It says
I
We went out of our way to look up
Well,
everybody's address.
Well, I had a little thought of that thing, but I'm
It
like.
didn't say anything about the canoe thing in there. It only talked about the city
Gotcha.
So I
recreation
I
plan,
sent you,
so.
no, it says dear neighbors. I think this is our invite.
Yeah. It was, and I'm sorry. It wasn't good enough. So,
Political jargon.
Yep.
Okay, good,
I'll do it.
thanks for coming,
Thank you.
Okay.
thanks for letting us
Thanks
know,
for
Yeah,
hearing us.
thank you.
yeah. Well,
We took it
Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
We took less time on this one than we did
Well, that's 'cause I didn't talk as much.
So do we need to do anything for the Parks and Rec other than say we're all in favor?
Well, I think there are a few things in the park and rec plan. It'd be nice if you guys gave us some feedback on.
Do you want to?
Yeah.
Last them out?
Yep.
Jody, do you have something totally separate or is it on the Parks and Rec? also?
No, I'm just here.
You're just here? Okay, you're set then?
I put my input as planning commission.
Okay.
So on the park and rec plan, I mean, basically, this was the plan from 2017 right here. And I just took this plan and updated it. I updated the census information, the dates, just stuff like that. And then we did a quick survey because they required us to, from the DEQ or the DNR. And then we updated that information in the plan. The chapter that I think is the most important to be updated, I mean, I gave you guys the entire plan, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but chapter 7 is the goals and objectives. And so there's goals and objectives in there, and the intent is that they would be moved on in the next 5 years. That's why it's a 5-year park and rec plan. So, the first objective, basically, or the goal is about maintenance. And so it talks about scheduling of events that we still want to continue to support, the movies, the music, holiday celebrations. So I assume you guys agree with that.
I would say.
Yeah, well, we put it in our budget.
Yeah,
So,
So we agree.
so, so
yes.
those are, I don't think that needs to be changed. So far, everybody seems to agree that those things need to continue. And these are the exact goals and objectives that were in the last like 2 plans. So some of these things have been accomplished. So establish an expected conduct for parks. So we put a sign over the park that says, call 911 if you see something or whatever. So that was done a long time ago, but we leave it in here so we know that we did accomplish that. So objective 3 under the maintenance of the parks and rec is to identify, this was something that Jody had a comment about. It says establish a Friends of the Parks group. This has been in the plan for 10 years. So, I mean, I didn't add it. If you guys want to change it, we can. Establish a Friends of the Park group, identify established groups such as the Langford Area Park and Recreation Committee. And then, I mean, I guess I don't see us changing that. It was in there, it's been in there, so. Number 4, this is still on maintenance. This kind of looks like it needs a little bit of work, this section about repairing ongoing issues. I mean, at Bait Scout Park, we've had that flooding problem forever. It says this was in 2008, we were 18, we were gonna get the repair assessed, which we did. And, there's like a whole, like this, there's a whole level of things that can be done, You could do a quick fix or you could do a couple $100,000 fix. So.
so the quick fix is not a fix.
Correct.
It's merely putting some lipstick.
Yeah, so I don't think there was, and so I still think that's something that needs to be investigated. But we did go ahead and get like some cost estimates, which are probably no good now. I mean, C2A got us some numbers a couple years ago. So then implement the improvements, I don't know, that it's just gonna depend on the cost of it, if we can implement those improvements, right?
Yeah.
And maybe there's a grant to do that, so I guess this section, pretty much stays in here. Talks about vandalism and cameras, and in 2021, we did some cameras over here, but we don't have any, the other one? No. Okay, so, maybe there's still more, but I guess this still needs to stay in here then, right? Everybody agrees we want to keep working on vandalism and cameras and whatnot. So far, I feel like that section is pretty good. Then enhance existing parks and recreation. It talks about in Appendix A that there's a non-transportation plan or something. It was probably in the old plan, but it's not in this one yet. Or it's just the same old one. Appendix B. I don't know, but I think there was a plan that we had to do like a trail all the way around the city, and I think that's what it's talking about. Then it talks about existing the pedestrian access from like the West Street subdivisions to the school, because there was no connectivity there. And we did I don't know, 2018. I mean, it's been a couple years, but we did that section on Third North. So there
To
is,
get it connected.
yep, so that is connected. One of the items that keeps coming up is Woodbury Road from Grand River to Doyle. We have a number for it. It's a big number.
The sidewalk.
Yep, it's in the capital improvement plan. It's a big number. Safe routes to school, I don't even know if it would work because you have to do both sides of the road, and there's not a lot of houses there, and you have to do like you have to connect kids to school. And so, I mean, there needs to be some thinking about how that project would proceed. I've heard from the American Legion, they'd like to see a connection out to there. They want to see us keep going with the sidewalk. And then the last section would be Meridian Road. And then we would have that Grand River piece, we would have, but those are some really big items, big ticket items. So somebody's got to determine, we got capital improvement plan that we went over a couple months ago that C2A did. So we asked them to give us prices on all the areas that were not connected yet. So we do have them. And I guess it's still in the goals that we go ahead
Yeah,
and.
why you can't, yeah,
Yeah,
don't
keep-
ever take
Right,
it out.
keep working on the connectivity unless somebody has an issue with it. So, it talks about the Safe Routes to School grant, which I said we did do that. And then, not that we can't do it again, but it's hard and it wants you to do it on both sides of the road. And the areas we have left are really not real feasible for both sides of the road. So. Objective 2, convert Abbott Street Park. Everybody know where that is?
I just drove by it today. It's like in that corner.
Yep.
There's
They,
somebody's trailer there.
so
I don't know where it
I don't
starts
know
and
if we
stops, but
this is one thing I don't know if people still want this in there. There's been talk about selling it. There's been talk of, turning it into like a community grow garden, not grow other, grow garden. So
Might get enough money to pay for the sidewalks.
there you go. About the only way. Yeah. So, I don't know. We had a lot of feedback that people want a dog park. I don't know if that's a good spot for a dog park. Will it fit a softball field? We had people that think the girls need a softball field because there isn't one. So,
high school girls.
the community girls,
Community girls,
they play at the Legion.
Mhm.
But we got a lot of feedback on that.
Bait
So
Scout Park, not softball.
there's
field?
no softball, all baseball.
It's
So
all
It can't
baseball.
be.
it
used
probably
for
could
both.
be, but it's just not on the radar. So those are the things that we got feedback from, that somebody should say, well, we could look into this, we could, where could we put a softball park, or where could we put a dog park? So, that's what we're looking for when we, want to change some of these things or leave it,
That
whatever.
corner is kind of a not great access.
And it would be,
I mean,
the access
You
would
get
be
in
rough
there and
there.
you get a parking and
I
then
think
what do
when
you
we
have
used to-
left for?
We used to play soccer there, and it was hard to park and the kids coming and going, and it isn't really convenient for that.
Yeah.
So, right now, it seems to be in some of our other plans to convert that to residential, like try to get some sort of development in there to build something.
Is that road to go straight?
It
Is
goes,
the street going straight?
Yes, and
Isn't it-
there's a
it's in the
road.
plan, right?
Yeah, there's a road right away there
Yeah.
that would, so,
So it's,
so
that's
my
possible also.
question would be, do we still want to convert this into a recreation area, or do we want to remove it from the park and rec plan, or do we want to say, still looking at it?
Well, if we don't have a different plan, I think we
Just
leave
leave
the
it.
same plan.
Okay.
Unless we have a new plan.
But
But I
it
think
could be
we-
something on our radar for the next 5 years to talk about, what would we want to do with that? So, and that's outside of your jurisdiction, but still,
Mm-hmm.
It's
owned by the city.
correct. And then on objective 3, we talk about taking and it says what used to be known as the Irene Street property, because nobody else knows what you're talking about when you say that. But now people don't know what Irene Street is anymore. So I think that we could probably remove, the inference that there, but anyways, we built an amphitheater there, so that's already done.
Accomplished.
We talked about putting basketball courts there, but they've been installed at Bates. So I think that we could probably remove any talk of installing any more basketball courts.
So you got them down there too that we put in the
Right.
middle school. Or whatever you wanna call it. The old high school, middle school / That's
So,
There's
the
basketball
Lions
courts down
Club
below,
did a
right?
really nice job on the basketball courts at Batesville Park. So it's really nice and,
There's no basketball here, right?
no,
no.
no, when we wrote that grant, we specifically left that out because the DNR was like, one of their things was that you needed to build something that didn't already exist. And at the time, we still had basketball down here at the school and basketball at the elementary school, so when you had to take an inventory of what you have and tell them what you have. And then they're like, well, why do you want to build more basketball? You already got it, so.
You get
um,
rid of objective three, is that what you're saying?
I think that I could at least remove the mention of basketball and stuff like that and just tell, put in there that we put the information that we built up amphitheater there. Convert Bait Scout Park into other uses as deemed appropriate. So develop a preliminary site plan for possible accessory use, seek development grants. I mean, I really don't know
What that is.
what anybody was thinking there that we would do, but I mean, I know at some point there was a talk of putting a soccer field out there, which they did for a little while, but I mean, it's kind of an open-ended thing, so if somebody comes up with something else they want to
It's
do out
not in
there.
there.
Yeah, I guess it kind of
Take
opens
that
the
one.
window if somebody comes up with something else to do out there. Establish an entertainment venue such as an amphitheater, gazebo, band shell, McClintock Park, so that is, I mean, that's completed. But we could still have actions of other things that want to be done to improve it, or, the new parks and recreation facilities connect Bait Scout Park from the northeast corner of the city to the high school and beyond. Actually think it's really pretty close to connected. I mean, because you could take Bait Scout, you take the sidewalk all the way up, and then you're not, the only piece left would be outside of our jurisdiction. If it went from, because you can get to the high school from Bait Scout Park sidewalk. As long as you take that little route past the Macon farm.
You have to go off the road and back that way. Is that what-
Yeah, then you're there. I mean, that's the school's property, but we can't really do anything further unless we work with the school. So that means just, we might need to update that a little bit. I don't know, something about the West River access.
Tree Street doesn't come close to that corner. High school.
I think the backside of Tree Street we had looked at before, or is there still that path thing up there?
I don't know if that was dead end into,
There used to be,
isn't that still dead end of Mahoney's?
I think it does.
Tree. Yeah, you got,
The Tom and Shirley's property
Tom
right
and
there.
Shirley's on one side, and you got, Diggs is on the
On the
other
other
side.
side, so it doesn't get that far. Mahoney's is between it and the other piece, and Shookie's probably. It's gotta go that way far enough, so it's gotta go south far enough.
I mean, this whole section kind of talks about like connected to the high school, which, I mean, it's still not like all the way to the high school.
So that dead end road that the one lives on, that ends in the Chickie's field, right?
Probably Mahoney's property.
Mahoney's. Street goes to Mahoney's.
No, not
No,
Tree Street.
not Tree-
Benson
Mahoney's.
Lane.
That's in, yeah, it stops at this hole.
That dies right into the field. So like Mahoney's on the end, I mean, it goes to the field or? I haven't been down there like that. I have no idea.
Might be able to see it up there, I don't know.
It stops just before Tom's driveway connects to it at the very end.
Well, what I'm wondering is if is there like a little piece of land there that could be bought to connect that road to the school, to the corner of that school?
On the backside from Mahoney's, it's saying,
I think there was discussion before about needing something from Mahoney's if we wanted to go through there.
it doesn't go to Shook, because Shookie's property ends at Tree Street,
Correct.
so it doesn't go to Shookie's, that's gotta be Mahoney's there.
That whole stretch of that field that runs through there is adjacent to the school is Tom's.
Right. So it's just, yeah, just Tom's property, that'd be it, actually.
So that whole field, Mahoney?
I think that's Mahoney.
There's a tree line that splits Shookie's.
Okay, yeah, well, that's the tree line. So that's Tree Street right there.
Yeah.
There's the school.
Yeah, I think there's like. a
Tom's
little-
comes right here, right here's Tom's, that's Tom's.
But he owns this too.
No, that's Shookie's. So right there would be the way to get across there somewhere. And I don't know if that would be, I don't know. It's right on the line.
Extended the sidewalk down.
Right, exactly, to that corner.
Buy that corner of the field. Or right, or buy a right away or something.
Is the city don't own any of that. That's school property still, right? Where they just put the,
Correct,
Right.
yep, that's the schools.
Yeah.
So that kind of talks about that. Then we have a trail from McClintock Park to the Ed Beavers Memorial Trail. It talks about that, but that would have to go down Shiawassee, so that has not been accomplished. Let's see, then objective number 3, develop a water access site along Looking Glass River. Again, that was in the old one. It looked like we were gonna try to do a survey in 2021. But then like, so it looks like we're, we're kind of in there where we had planned in the last 5 years of moving forward. So we kind of doing.
it's just
what-
at the end of the 5 years.
Yep. So, objective 4, that's still part of that river process. Objective 5, Hogsback. This is in the district.
Yeah.
You guys know what Hogsback is?
I do.
He does.
Like $500,000 proposal.
That's the
Yeah,
place to
it's
put
right.
the doggy park,
There you
right?
go.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that
what I'm
would work
saying,
out
the dog
good.
park right there on that side, all across the street.
An expansion of the vet clinic.
Although we gotta
so it's
widen
kind
that
of-
road because there's 2 million cars that go
School
down that
comes
double
up
line up.
Woodhull.
They had 2:30, they're lined up.
Holy.
So if you come up Woodhull,
I
the
had to come
school
through
there,
town
uh-huh,
at
and then
7:45 a long
Williams
time.
Street.
Yes.
And I came
Or
through the other day, I
railroad.
was like,
Okay,
this is a
it kind of
zoo.
teased together, so
It's like-
Hogsback is the
it's
piece back
insane.
that way.
Wait a
It's like that
minute,
big
this is
woody
like crazy. I've
area
never
as
seen
you're going
something
out of
like that.
town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, because I'm either here before that
Or,
or I come in after that, and I came through that.
Where
I was like,
Hogsback is?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't go
Pines
through there at that time either. I did
No,
it
I'm
once
over-
last week. And I said,
So it's the
"Nope,
middle
yeah."
school.
Yeah, middle school, I mean,
Yeah.
it was, I was,
So where's
it was impressive. Not in a good way.
Hope then be a,
So Hogsback
like
is
her
this
husband, a
area.
bus driver trying to maneuver that.
Yeah, because, no,
So we want to
Where do
leave
they
that in
drop
the,
them?
Yeah.
in the plan then, to develop Hogsback? I
It
mean,
needs to be in there.
it's just in there,
Yeah.
right? I mean.
might as well.
But now we're talking about 24 to 26. I mean, getting some preliminary designs. We can update those numbers a little bit or whatever, so. Expansion of Memorial Park. So this was another question for me because that's that
That's the
little,
development.
the flags and stuff that are right there by the sidewalk that goes to the post office from Green River. So at this point, it looks like when this was written, somebody was thinking that we were gonna make that like maybe that whole area, because we
Green
tore
space.
that house down.
Yeah.
And then make that whole area more into that, but
Is
now
it-
we have it in other plans and in our economic development plan and the plan that the DDA has approved to build that mixed use building there. So I kind of feel like, I mean, we could still leave in there if somebody thinks that they still wanna, but
Or a new location.
or improve, it doesn't have to go away. I mean, that could stay there, but we could leave in here that we wanna, maintain and improve it and, if we wanna add flags, but to make the area bigger right now it's not compatible with other plans that we have.
Is the plan for the development include keeping that part there?
Yes.
Yes.
All of the plans that, we've talked about include that. So, I mean, I think that we could leave it in there. We just don't want to talk about,
Expansions more of just.
Right.
maintenance,
we don't want to talk about expanding it.
maintenance.
Yep.
Maintain or enhance.
So everybody okay with that then?
Yeah.
Okay. Maintain public access from Grand River to the country. Yep. So the last thing, looks like, I think, develop the area on and around the city-owned property west of Roosevelt Row. So that's behind you.
That'd be awesome.
Yep. So, I mean, that's on the, I mean, at one point, there had been some talk about putting a farmer's market there. So, but I don't know that there's, ever been any serious talk about putting a park there, like a pocket park maybe, or, so that's what's mentioned in here. So, and that is in your district as well.
Pickleball,
Pickleball?
that's pretty popular now.
It's huge.
A lot of places are converting their tennis courts to pickleball.
We
Actually,
did.
people.
We
here,
did.
We play
We
here.
we did ours
Okay.
with different colored lines.
Okay.
Yep, so, because we had a request for that, and so they did it.
Pickleball pro day.
You betcha.
Not yet, not yet.
I've never seen a pickleball.
Actually, it's
So
pretty
how do
nice.
you think we should
ESPN
handle the
one time
Roosevelt Row stuff?
Pardon?
Roosevelt Row,
Crazy.
how-
My wife got it for me for Christmas. I haven't played before. So we're gonna play this spring.
You're talking on that side of the street?
I mean, what are we thinking there? Do we want to still consider that for a park? Are we thinking parking? Are we thinking commercial? Are we thinking residential? Farmers market.
Park request, it said 60% and 50 were just under 50, 48% basically for a no, if you think you had enough parks. And just 55% said we need more parks. So what's that mean?
I don't know what that means.
This, yeah, the spot that they're talking about is between me and the car wash, essentially.
That's what I'm thinking.
Next to the park.
Or another car wash.
That was third, fourth,
It's a nice area, but really good parking.
Used to be a lumberyard.
Right there.
Yep.
What was it?
was a lumberyard.
Mhm.
That could come back too. That'd be cool, but I don't think that's happening.
It says to develop preliminary site plans for the use of the city-owned property west of Roosevelt Row and surrounding area to establish if a pocket park and parking area or other use is feasible. So that kind of leaves it open. It
Other
says
use.
or other use. I mean, do you want like pocket park removed? Do you want it in there? What do you? Preliminary site plan should be used to discuss intended development with persons rescinding owners.
What's the general consensus to make it a farmer's market?
Originally, that's kind of what the whole talk was to,
So you call it like a marketplace park, like, they want in the township. We're set up for a farmer market.
Well, even like we could just leave it in there so that it says to do some and like feasibility studies or something. So that way, that kind of opens it up,
leave it completely open.
don't you think?
They could be an open air structure, just like Meridian has, just something long, narrow, booths on both sides or room for booths on both sides.
So this plan will start in 2022. What year do you think we should start doing a feasibility study?
Well, you've already got the river,
We got a little bit of stuff going on.
you got the river, you got baits, you got a lot of things
Right,
you're trying to do,
so
probably later.
Put that at the end of the 5 years.
there you go.
2006.
That was it. I think those to me are the important things that, we really need some feedback on. The rest of the plan is pretty much cookie cutter stuff that I just updated dates and times, and then, we did the survey based on the questions we asked last time. And then we tried to make some specific towards the river because we really wanted feedback on that. And then some stuff that the lady from the DNR shows we should have in there. So,
I was thinking food trucks for that area before, so ever since you had it up here, it's a better spot for it.
yeah,
So as long as you keep using it up
unfortunately,
here.
this can't be a permanent spot for
Oh, why not?
it. Because this is our parking lot.
Yeah, but that's after you're out of work at
That's
2
true.
o'clock in the afternoon.
Jeez.
That's true. We could have parking, we could have food every day up here.
Who gets out of it?
He caught on to that.
That's what I needed on the park and rec plan. Do you guys have any other comments or? I do not.
Sleepy Hollow Park at
Oh, that's next on your agenda. Cassie had a copy of it in your packet. Cassie, you got one out there? You want to show them? Is it in your packet, Mark? Somebody has a packet. I looked back there and looked at some-
Where we do that? Need a board?
You
Just
got a
vote
color
on
one
it.
there?
You're awesome. Thank you.
So every year we update that ad and they're just asking us to
What is
update
it, $700 now or something?
And they're not even asking us to pay for it yet. I don't think they were gonna change the rate from last year is what they told us.
675, 6 something, 700.
But they said they were gonna,
I asked them.
we're just asking for content. I think we kind of overhauled it last year, didn't we?
We did, yeah, yep, because we put that QR code in and
So,
redid.
So did that, so from what we did last year to now, did that make a major improvement? For people visiting, or is there any way to track that?
I don't know how you track it.
you know,
other
we
than
have had some
what they're-
feedback on our end, but I would think the businesses would have more feedback as to if it made any difference. I know when we first put up like all the wayfinding signs, we did get some feedback from businesses, like that they were getting a lot more people from Sleepy Hollow. And so I think that the Sleepy Hollow ad has, over time, continued to create, you know,
Isn't that gets handed to each person going into the park, correct?
into the campground.
Right, into the
Yep.
campground.
Yep.
I mean, they literally hand it to them.
They write
So
your
they-
campsite on it and
Right.
give it to you.
So they're got it in their hand at least, because if it's not in their phone, then it's not in their hand.
And that's
anymore.
why the suggestion last year to add that QR
QR,
code,
right.
we thought, well,
Good idea.
Because then there's more information on this
Can we have a little
website.
map
There
on
is.
there?
Pick it up.
Yeah, I like the QR code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So keep it,
We don't
I mean,
need
if there's
more
any
than that.
yeah,
changes,
because
you
we have
know,
to spend money on it, so
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
let's make a motion.
I'll make a motion. Up to what, $800?
Second.
I'll second
Got it.
All in favor?
just to renew that. ad,
Anyone
please.
opposed? Yeah, just renew basically. At whatever
it.
that,
So they'll let me know if that QR code is still going to the right place. If not, I'm looking.
Okay, and then, we just, Cassie tries to like go through it and call businesses that aren't, you know, updating their stuff or whatever, so that helps us a little bit, we get that updated when we have changes, so hopefully before this goes to print, we can double check that. Yeah, this looks pretty new last year, so. Okay,
that it,
that's it.
Dave? Easy. Dave? Nothing?
Nothing. Snow,
It's coming,
it's coming.
so they're saying, good luck. Have a riot. You have something?
Oh, I thought you meant, is that it? You still have items on your agenda.
Yeah, I know, just the DDA plan.
You're right.
Fire away.
This is your Bible. This is what you guys live by right here. So, hasn't been
And it's
updated,
done.
hasn't been updated in 30 years and, I mean, I don't know, we have to rehash what happened, but wasn't real happy with the one we paid for. So they did come back and make things right and, put in all the changes. So, but I've been working on that for a year.
Well, I didn't know that, so the company we originally hired to do it, I know we had some back and forth for a while.
Right, and
Forever.
so basically,
Yeah.
what they gave us was sort of like a generic cookie cutter plan. And our old plan, our 30-year-old plan had a lot of really nice detail in it. And that, you know, theirs didn't depict our history and it didn't talk about all the projects we want to do. So if you go in here, again, this one is like the chapter that's important. I mean, most of it is just like verbiage that talks about, you know, what DDAs are and what they do and that kind of thing. But then we snuck in some pictures and some history of Langsberg. But then, you know, we wrote down what you guys have completed. I mean, that wasn't in the old plan. We talked about, you know, and the public improvements that have happened. So we tried to document some historical things that have happened and,
That we actually didn't pay for. and
yeah,
got 'em
or
back.
that were happened, maybe it happened because of something that was you know, it was catalyzed by something that we did, you know?
So the same people redid it?
I redid it. They, did the like putting all the words together for me. They did the formatting. Because there was like a lot of stuff that they just, they said, well, if this changes, we'll put it in the plan or whatever. Well, I wanted to emphasize some things in here that just, we had talked about that there wasn't a mission statement. We went through and we created a mission statement, and that's all these goals, and those are the ones that we went through last summer. And we talked about, our goals and objectives, and we have like 5 solid objectives, and then, how we're gonna get those done. And we didn't put years on any of these, but they kind of lead up to what you want to talk about for actual projects later.
Like our other plan, this plan has an end to it. Unless we.
Correct. And the other one technically did, but, it could, the problem with the other plan is it could have been challenged, that we were still taking taxpayers' money on a plan that,
So how much time before this ends do we have to, we have to reapply, we have to rewrite the plan?
it's like a 20-year plan, I think.
Same as before.
So it had some open-ended stuff in there, which was good, so we could make changes if we needed to.
Right, and we
Like,
did that in
have to
here
pause.
too, we left a lot of open-ended stuff in here,
Well, that's what I
like.
mean, this one I read it. so
Okay,
that's what I'm
good,
saying,
good, okay,
that left the door open for us to, if we couldn't do something, we could, and we wanted to change something.
Which
Right.
in most cases, we can't because our funding is not available.
but we did talk about some specific projects, like, so we kind of did this chart that talks about things you guys spend money on every year, and then some projects you talked about doing, so those, but this plan doesn't stick you to just those projects, but it does highlight a lot of the things that you guys have talked about doing.
This hasn't been adopted yet. but-
Correct, so, well, if you guys,
It's done.
sorry, that needs to be changed now. Yeah, we have to, it won't be adopted until a couple of months, so that, I had anticipated it would be done in 21.
Yeah, No, I know, I just thought I was just bringing it to your attention.
Yeah, no, we have to adopt, we have to change that, but, so what happens is there's like a whole public input process on this, but it starts with you guys. If you're ready for this to move forward, we can go to the next steps and get it published and have the public look at it. If you want to look at it for another month, I've been working on it for over a year, so whatever you guys want to do. Okay, so,
Make a motion.
Okay.
okay.
I was gonna say,
I just
I'm
want
trying
to
to get
make
you to
sure
make a
that,
motion, him the second. It just gets.
I just want to make sure you guys have read this or are on board with it, because, I mean, this,
I've read it. That
this is your guide. This is what, like, when you're not sitting here, the next people, this is what they have to go by.
I just didn't want to lock us in if we wanted to change which
And we-
direction we were going, and it doesn't. I mean,
We
there's
tried
some-
not to do
And there's some
that.
open avenues in here, so and it's good. I mean,
Cool.
it looked like a good plan,
Thank
what I
you.
read. so,
We had a motion by. Rick.
Thank you. Thank you for all your hard work.
Thanks. You the second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? There, move
All right,
it to the city council.
well, you will. And then
Let
I
them.
think it's gotta have like 2 published
Mhm.
dates and, I mean, we're still a couple months out from being able to adopt it, but I'm really happy with it. I think it's a good plan.
Considerably different than the other, but there's things that
I
happen.
was reading that. On the packet, at toward the end, there's the Michigan Economic Development Corporation that's got Colton Hancock in there.
Yeah.
Any reason that's in there?
I just wanted to point out to you guys that article is exactly why we have engaged with RRC, and
That's
just
what I
because
thought. That's-
those are the things that, that when somebody said, hey, go ahead, let's look at that, let's do this, and you guys have supported it, you guys have supported the fit assessment. Those are the things that can happen from actually working on some of those things. Like Mark said, if you don't do nothing, then nothing's gonna get done. So, I think that,
Well, and if you don't talk about it either, even if it's bad,
right,
It
and I
doesn't
feel like
get done.
this meeting went way better tonight than the planning commission did with these folks, but I feel like, they just, they understand now that that's all we're trying to do.
Is that right, Brian, there's from our political prowess.
Yeah. right.
No, actually, when we sent them the invite, it included a posting for all 5 of the meetings that we were holding in, we thought, so. That we just wanted to open the dialogue, and I feel like that, if they had all said they didn't want this to go and they hated the idea, but I heard a lot of, we'd like to see this and we'd like to see that, but I didn't really see anybody saying, we're completely opposed
Opposed to it or
to
just.
people using
hate
the
it.
river. So, I mean, I think that was good, but
One-
there,
One thing I wanted to ask, actually, I mean, by rights, anyone can go out there and put a canoe in right there now. can't they?
absolutely, I
I
mean,
mean, it's state owned. or
unless
city
Dave
owned
has no
property.
trespass, I think you did have no trespassing out there, but
No, them weren't ours, them were theirs.
Oh,
They were
but
leasing
up
it.
by the bridge.
I mean, literally,
The
you should
county-
go out there and fish.
But
But
the
it's-
county owns that up by the bridge, right? Because like the county owns the
But I'm
bridge.
saying, it's city owned property, so anyone
I
who
think it would
pays
raise the
taxes
value
can
and
go
have-
out there and go across the property, go down and get in the river.
Unless we said no and we put a fence on it or whatever, but yes. Right,
I think a lot of people thought it was privately owned and didn't have a right to it. But now that it's been brought up, I think that the do be spoken might come out there. It might not, I don't know, who cares?
But the
It
thing
would
of
have
it,
been there anyway.
have you ever been out to City Hall in the middle of the night?
No.
But there's none of that. There's no like a one light out there. If you drive in there, like the boat launch. I mean, I've driven in there before, in the middle of the night.
No.
Check out the lake. There's nobody there.
Yeah.
Nobody there doing anything. You just, I mean, the thing of it is, you never know when a police officer's gonna pull in there or whatever. You're not gonna be sitting out there doing something. So-
I mean, and whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. I'm never gonna change that.
Right.
And to be worried about it all the time,
We're doing this.
Yeah, there,
Exactly.
I think a
Whatever
spot
the
is
next
mowed
spot
and has a drive and is visible to be able to go in there.
Right.
There's less chances happening there than there is if it's
no,
not.
yeah, I'm good.
Playing a game.
So
that you
what's
play
up
all
with this
day
match main grant?
I just wanted, I mean, because we haven't met since we actually got denied, just so you guys knew that, we put in the Jones project and it was denied. She said she got some good feedback. She was gonna get some more from the lady or something about how to improve her next application. Cheryl did a lot of work, to help her get there. We did a lot of work to get everything turned in and, that was the only one that we had that was ready to go.
There's like 4, right? You know,
So they sorted themselves out and, I mean, it was a really competitive process, so. I do think there might be more coming down the pipe, but I think it's a good idea to let people know that, have some projects ready. If these funds come out, then we can let you know.
It's really hard to get quotes. It's almost impossible. 'Cause I was gonna try to do the match. I mean,
Right.
I simply couldn't get quotes.
It's
In fact,
It's
even
gonna
the
be like
same
that this
people, I
year.
still don't have quotes.
It'll be like that all year this year.
But
It'll actually get worse. It's gonna get worse.
it probably will.
And for, for people that own like the mixed use buildings right now, we're doing a rental rehab with Rich Hafner. And he's gonna put 2 apartments upstairs and they have a really good program for doing those on any of the mixed use buildings. So I know you guys probably already know this, but we have a need for housing. So we get calls every day that people are looking for, an apartment. And so, and one of our economic development plans is that, we want to increase that density in downtown. And so, we're hoping that we get a developer who wants to build something downtown that brings in some more people that will go up to businesses. So, that's your education ticket. If you want to go to that, let us know. But we have funds to pay for it or whatever, so if people want to go to training, then take some.
Okay,
The only other thing that I wanted to mention was that Face Forward is coming up. Last year, we did that big push. We want to do that again. push out some information so people are aware of the program. I'm asking because last year you had a lot of applicants. I mean, you tell me what you want. me to do.
What's allotted this year? I can't remember.
20,000. And I already have one
But-
application. Somebody's already
However-
turned one in for me too.
So actually, we have 20,000, but we have some that we paid in this year.
But they belong.
But they belong to last year.
They did, but they ended up being in this fiscal year. For payment.
Oh, but you didn't, but you guys rolled anything you hadn't spent over, didn't you? When you did the budget.
We upped it to.
What would
20,000.
actually be next fiscal year? Because our fiscal year is in June, right? So if we approve in
Yes.
March or whatever, they'll be done by November of the next fiscal year.
Yeah, right. It'll be in the,
Right, so, yeah, it'll actually. kind of roll
It probably
into the
works
next
itself
one. Yeah,
out.
yeah.
So-
it will,
so-
it will.
Do we have extra funds from this fiscal year that can carry over in that fiscal year to expand that side?
if we haven't spent the 20.
We haven't spent the 20, we have spent, I knew I was gonna want to have that. We've spent 9,183.73
We have what, 50?
20,000.
We had 20 for that, so.
allocated
I think my
for
like
this fiscal year.
32 project will be done here pretty quick. I got that siding still.
You're the only one that hasn't been reimbursed yet, right? Out of this
I
last
believe
round.
so.
Well, the guy who I was gonna have to do the siding basically said,
Was that like a 5,000 reimbursement?
I'll help you order the project, or order the stuff. And then he gave me another guy's name. So, for putting it on.
So worst case, we really would have 25,000, we carry 5 over the next fiscal year.
When I,
We have 20.
next month, I'll have our cash flow. I'll put our cash flow together so we know what we've spent on each of the budget items.
What was it last year, like $40,000, right? Was all that
I think it was 40, yeah.
when we put it out and then everybody.
Yeah,
So I just wanted you guys to be aware, and then if, last year you had us send out something, you had to send something out to people. And I think we sent something to everybody in the district.
I think you put it out. Yeah,
You sent a
Okay, you
letter.
guys want
You
us to
sent
do
a-
that again?
yeah, just, I guess, an inform.
I think we want to make sure what our budget is. I wouldn't want to decide today. I would want to know what do we have left
But they're
to.
due.
I don't think it matters, but they're already due. They're gonna be due by their next meeting.
Oh, okay,
Right,
I
you
see
see
what
what
you're
I'm
saying.
saying is. do
You're
you
gonna
want
start
us
them
to-
and get them in here. They
Yeah.
might,
Yep,
we might as
yep.
well just give them in front of
Yeah,
us. and
that
then
makes
we
sense.
I
can-
think they're due
Okay.
in March.
They're due the end of March.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
You're
you
right,
guys would
you're
have
right.
your February meeting, but it would be too late to
Yeah.
tell us to get everything out to people.
And
Okay,
a chunk of those
that
people
makes
that
sense.
applied did get it. So,
And we
Yeah.
sent them
The
all a
request
letter
won't be
and
as
tried to, you know, the ones that.
I don't think it, but who knows?
Yeah,
Never-
so I
never
understand
know.
what you're saying.
I'm just
Yeah,
asking, do you want us to push that again, or do you want us to just let it lie? Because I don't know what you're gonna budget into the next year.
right.
Do we skip a year? Or do we do it?
We can do anything.
You guys can do anything you want.
I don't think you normally skipped a year.
Well, we
Well,
never
some-
advertised before. I mean,
Yeah,
it was
we
just
kept
always 'cause it's
pushing it.
public.
Oh, I
We've
see. what you're
never
saying.
had
It's always been
any
in the
more than the
minutes.
15 grand.
But we didn't send out an actual letter like. we did
Yeah, last year
to
we
everybody.
pushed it, and we got quite a few, but I think that's what the
Most
program's
ever.
for, right?
Well, yes,
If you're
unless
gonna
you're, unless you're trying to gain a little more ground in the bank account to make a bigger project.
Well, or you could
Which-
put, we could put in the
we
letter
can-
that there's only 25,000 to go around.
I-
I mean,
I wouldn't
okay.
put out there any number.
yeah.
Uh,
Or reach out to the people that got denied last year.
the reason now, they should still know, I mean, they got denied, they should
Right.
reapply, and we told them to reapply.
Absolutely.
I mean, but we're not gonna have our payment to you guys anymore. That was our largest payment
Right,
every
the
year.
bond is paid off.
Correct. First time in 28, what was it, 15? 20.
Yeah, 15 years.
15. Yeah. So you're gonna see a little influx of money, and you might be able to see a project that we could accomplish that would be more than $1,000 here, 5,000 there, you know, $100 here, whatever. It could be a. Well. You wait for 2 years, you got a lot more money than we've ever had.
So leave it as it is, read the minutes and you'll know about it, and the project gets the next year, or that's it. It's public information.
Yeah, I mean, it's out there
already
anyway.
public information, it's not like. But just last year.
Yeah, I'm just
took-
asking,
took
you, do you want me to
took
send letters to
exercise.
everybody like last year or no? I'm different, I don't. I can
Maybe
sway
hold off
either way.
then.
I don't care.
It doesn't matter to me either.
Makes no difference to me. What do you think, guys? Yes or no?
But we're not gonna do it unless you tell us to. Right.
Let's see your letters or just put it in the,
It's always in the
Newspaper.
minutes, it's always.
Always in the
public,
minutes, yeah.
I mean, we can put it on Facebook, on the website, you know, in the man, we put it in the newspaper or what. But last year you had us send everybody in the district a flyer.
Both homeowner and commercial.
So. We don't have to do that again if you don't want us to, or we can, doesn't matter.
were we overwhelmed with them last year? I mean,
Yes.
I know we had a lot.
Well, we just didn't,
Was the most we've ever had.
Right.
By far. It was double,
but you couldn't
triple.
fund them.
I mean, we couldn't fund them all, no.
Was it?
It didn't seem like,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it
Is
was.
it on the website?
It was.
It was.
It was.
I mean, and we.
It
It was
usually
hard to deal with
move
them,
it
yes.
to the forefront, I think like February, March or whatever.
It turned into a little bit of a,
No way. For a year anyway, try
For a
it.
year.
Just go back. I mean,
Couple
like, I said,
years,
put it all over the website and all that,
broadcast it.
or let's see what happens.
Maybe- and
And
we can-
we've
okay.
invited all the people back.
that didn't, and we told, yeah,
Right.
literally told them,
Might be interesting to see how many reapply.
me too.
Yeah.
But some of them may have got their project done anyway.
Insurance claim.
Unless they couldn't
No,
find
sir.
somebody. to do it.
Right? And I don't know if everybody saw or not, but we did get the trees. moved.
I saw that.
Did they come from back there?
There's trees
The
out
big
there?
sugar maples, yep, we
Okay.
moved them
I just
from,
looked for.
yep, out by the lagoons and hoping to provide a little more shade in the amphitheater and keep it out.
Yeah, I saw that. They happened quick.
It did happen quick.
I saw
I
it.
was out walking, I said, oh, look.
When did
Trees.
they get put in before? it got cold? Yeah.
Them guys.
How big are they? They're-
What are they, 25, 30 feet tall?
Yeah.
They're at least 25.
Between 21
this-
and
on these
26.
plans, When it says 12-inch pine, it's like diameter of the trunk.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a really small pine tree. It's only-
Oh,
it's only 12 inches
It's
tall.
called
You know what, I
seedling.
think
Like,
there's
how did I
some
see
more-
that?
I think there's some more of those out there that could be moved too.
I assumed it was trunk diameter, because I was like, man, those are really small pine trees.
So all of them moved are maples.
Sugar maples,
Oh,
yep,
nice.
Yep.
Fast.
yep. So, hopefully they take and
How
it
many
all
of
works out.
them? There's three.
I would definitely
Three.
have someone,
Three.
Dave, whatever you call
Jason.
the arbor, how do you say it?
Arborist.
Jason and his
Look at it.
volunteered.
Yeah, there you go.
He did, Jason volunteered.
It said, do your trimming, do whatever you gotta do to it, and the more you do that, and if you put a little fertilizer on it too, you know, stakes or spikes or whatever, and poof, he'll have it. Let him,
Is it
I mean, if it costs us a couple $100 to have him do it, just have him do it and get it done.
He
And
just
it-
authorized money to do that.
Like how
Yeah.
Water
I mean, it will
Not gonna
make
do a lot
a
of
huge
water.
difference in the tree.
on.
Right.
I just wondered. So
Let's get out of here.
Water them, use those green bags. I've seen people do that.
I know there's a
It's
clear,
it's a
isn't there?
hard area to keep
37 or
on.
something, it says.
7:30, now we gotta
Did you
do
have
one
something
thirty.
you
Okay.
still-
7:36.
Okay.
36.
I think that's fine.